When most people die, their body is buried or cremated, marking an ending. But in the mystical practice of Jeeva Samadhi, it is not death as we know it. It is a conscious transition. Unlike ordinary burial, where the person's presence departs, Jeeva Samadhi is believed to preserve the saint's living spirit within a sealed chamber. Devotees visit not to mourn, but to connect, believing the Master continues to guide and bless from within. In this video, we'll uncover the profound difference between ordinary death and Jeeva Samadhi, and why one is seen as sacred presence, not absence. For most of humanity, death is the ultimate boundary. When life ends, the body is buried or cremated, and the soul, according to one's faith, moves on to another realm. Burial and cremation are rituals of closure, acknowledging that the person is no longer here. Yet, in the mystical traditions of South India and beyond, there exists another path, Jeeva Samadhi. Unlike ordinary death, Jeeva Samadhi is believed to be a conscious transition, where enlightened saints remain present even after entering a sealed chamber. This difference is not merely about ritual. It is about how life, death, and presence are understood at the deepest levels of spirituality. To compare Jeeva Samadhi with ordinary burial or cremation is to uncover two radically different views of what it means to be human and what it means to transcend. Ordinary burial and cremation, the finality of death. Across cultures, burial and cremation are the most common ways to honor the dead. Though practices vary widely, the underlying idea is the same: death as separation. In ordinary death, the life force departs from the body. Breathing ceases, the heart stops, and the body begins to decay. The person who lived within that body is no longer present. The body's disposal. In burial, the body is returned to the earth. It is often placed in a coffin or shroud and interred, symbolizing rest and finality. In cremation, the body is consumed by fire, returning its elements to the air and earth. In Hindu tradition, cremation is a way to release the soul from earthly ties. The meaning of absence. A grave or cremation site becomes a marker of memory, not presence. People may visit to remember or honor the departed, but they do not expect the loved one to actively dwell there. Thus, in ordinary burial or cremation, death is understood as an ending. The rituals bring closure, allowing the living to grieve, accept, and move forward. Jeeva Samadhi, conscious transition, not death. In sharp contrast, Jeeva Samadhi represents a different vision of death and presence. Here, saints or yogis do not die in the conventional sense. Instead, they choose to enter a state of eternal meditation, often in a specially prepared tomb or chamber. Key features of Jeeva Samadhi. Conscious entry. Unlike ordinary death, which arrives unbidden, Jeeva Samadhi is intentional. The saint announces the time, prepares spiritually, and enters meditation as the chamber is sealed. Control of prana. The yogi withdraws the life force prana, inward, stilling breath and body. Advanced pranayama and yogic mastery allow them to transcend the need for air and food. Living presence. Though the body becomes still, devotees believe the saint does not leave. Their consciousness remains present, blessing those who come to the site. The tomb is treated not as a grave, but as a sanctum, a living shrine. Eternal meditation. The saint's meditation is said to continue indefinitely, radiating spiritual energy across time. For this reason, Jeeva Samadhi is revered as a place of healing, guidance, and grace. Why Jeeva Samadhi is not considered death. The distinction lies in how presence is understood. In burial/cremation, the person is absent, the body is gone, and the soul has departed. The site is memorial, not mystical. In Jeeva Samadhi, the saint is present. Though sealed within, they are believed to be alive in spirit, continuing their work in subtle form. The site is not memory, but encounter. This is why devotees visit Jeeva Samadhi shrines with the same devotion they offer in temples. They light lamps, offer flowers, and meditate as though sitting in the presence of the saint. The belief is not that the saint has died, but that they live on in another dimension of existence. Symbolism of the sealed chamber. The physical difference is striking. In ordinary burial, the body is interred in a coffin or grave where air can still pass through soil. Cremation, too, allows the body to return to the elements. In Jeeva Samadhi, the chamber is often airtight. No air goes in or out. Yet because the saint has transcended the need for breath, the absence of air is no hindrance. This sealed tomb symbolizes cutting off from the world. The saint no longer engages with worldly needs. Total absorption. Just as the tomb is closed from outside influence, the saint's awareness is absorbed in the divine. Eternal stillness. The chamber is not a coffin, but a womb of transformation, where stillness itself becomes life. Historical examples. Raghavendra Swami, 1595 to 1671. The famous saint of Mantralayam entered Jeeva Samadhi in 1671. Before entering, he assured devotees that he would remain present for centuries, blessing those who come. His shrine today is one of India's most visited pilgrimage centers, where thousands testify to his continuing miracles. Sadasava Brahmendra, 17th century. A silent sage who composed devotional hymns. He attained Jeeva Samadhi near Karur in Tamil Nadu. Devotees believe his presence still sanctifies the place, drawing seekers of silence and meditation. The Tamil Siddhars. Countless Siddhars are believed to have entered Jeeva Samadhi, leaving behind shrines scattered across South India. Unlike ordinary graves, these sites are treated as living centers of energy, where people gather for worship and healing. Philosophical insights. The difference between Jeeva Samadhi and ordinary burial is not only physical, but deeply philosophical. Death as an end versus death as transformation. Burial/cremation sees death as the end of the body's journey. Jeeva Samadhi sees it as a conscious transformation into higher presence. Absence versus presence. In burial, the person is gone. The site recalls memory. In Jeeva Samadhi, the saint remains, and the site radiates presence. Passive versus active. A grave is passive, marking what once was. A Jeeva Samadhi is active, believed to be a source of ongoing blessings. Fear versus reverence. Ordinary death often inspires fear, sorrow, and loss. Jeeva Samadhi inspires reverence, faith, and hope. The devotee's experience. For those who visit Jeeva Samadhi shrines, the difference is tangible. At a graveyard, the mood is somber. People mourn and reflect. At a Jeeva Samadhi, the mood is sacred. People pray, celebrate, and seek guidance. Devotees testify to dreams or visions where the saint gives counsel. Physical healings or relief from difficulties after prayer. A deep sense of inner peace, as if sitting beside a living master. Such experiences reinforce the belief that Jeeva Samadhi is not death, but sacred presence. Science, skepticism, and mystery. From a scientific point of view, Jeeva Samadhi is difficult to explain. Can a body truly survive without air for centuries? Biologically, the answer is no. Skeptics argue that saints entering Jeeva Samadhi die naturally, and that stories of ongoing presence are shaped by faith. Yet, science cannot fully explain the transformative atmosphere of these shrines. Whether the saint's body survives or not, The psychological and spiritual impact of the belief is undeniable. For devotees, the saint is palpably real, and the tomb is alive. Lessons of the living tomb. The difference between Jeeva Samadhi and ordinary burial reveals profound spiritual lessons. Life transcends biology. The body may be limited, but consciousness is vast. Death need not be fearful. If saints can meet death consciously, perhaps death itself is not an enemy, but a doorway. Presence is more than physical. Love, guidance, and blessing can continue beyond the visible body. Sacred space can transform. A Jeeva Samadhi shrine is not just a monument. It becomes a space where the eternal touches the temporal. Why it matters today. In a world where death is often hidden away and feared, Jeeva Samadhi offers a different perspective. It tells us that death need not mean absence. It can mean presence in another form. Spiritual mastery can redefine what is possible for human life. Sacred traditions still hold wisdom for modern seekers. For many, even if they do not literally believe in the physical immortality of Jeeva Samadhi, the symbolism alone is powerful. It is a reminder that our essence is greater than our bodies, and that love and presence can outlast death. The sacred presence. Death has been one of humanity's most enduring mysteries. Across cultures, it is feared, ritualized, and revered. For most, the end of life is marked by burial or cremation, rituals that acknowledge the finality of the body and the departure of the soul. These practices are intended to honor memory, facilitate closure, and, in many traditions, ensure that the deceased is guided safely to the afterlife. Yet, in the mystical traditions of India, especially among the Siddhars of Tamil Nadu, there exists a practice that challenges our conventional understanding of life and death. Jeeva Samadhi. Here, enlightened saints enter a tomb or enclosed chamber while alive, not in ignorance, not by accident, but as a conscious, deliberate act of spiritual transcendence. The paradox of Jeeva Samadhi lies in the fact that the tomb is alive, the body is silent yet present, and the master withdraws from the world physically but continues to dwell in the spiritual consciousness of devotees. This is what is often referred to as the sacred presence. This essay explores the profound difference between Jeeva Samadhi and ordinary burial or cremation, and how it transforms our understanding of death, presence, and eternal consciousness. Ordinary burial and cremation, the finality of death. To understand the significance of Jeeva Samadhi, it is essential first to examine the conventional practices of death, burial, and cremation. These rituals are almost universal, transcending geography, religion, and culture. Burial. Burial involves placing the deceased body in the earth, often within a coffin or shroud. It symbolizes return to the elements and a final resting place for the physical form. Burial is associated with stillness, remembrance, and mourning. While grave sites may become sites of veneration, the emphasis is on memory rather than presence. The body decays, and the person who once animated it is considered gone. Cremation. Cremation, particularly in Hindu and Buddhist traditions, involves reducing the body to ashes through fire. It is viewed as a purification process, releasing the soul from attachment to the body. While cremation often symbolizes liberation, it also reinforces the notion of finality. Once the body is consumed, the deceased is no longer accessible in any tangible sense. In both practices, death is treated as an ending, and the rituals surrounding it focus on closure. The living honor, mourn, and remember, but they do not expect the deceased to maintain active presence in the material world. Jeeva Samadhi, life beyond the body. In stark contrast to burial and cremation, Jeeva Samadhi represents a conscious act of transcendence. The term Jeeva Samadhi comes from the Sanskrit words Jeev, meaning life, and Samadhi, meaning complete absorption or union with the divine. In this practice, the saint enters a chamber, sometimes underground, sometimes above ground, and enters deep meditation, withdrawing from physical activity while maintaining a profound spiritual presence. Unlike ordinary death, Jeeva Samadhi is intentional. The saint prepares for it, often years in advance, cultivating mastery over breath, body, and mind. Through advanced yogic practices, particularly pranayama and kundalini meditation, the saint stabilizes consciousness, diminishes bodily needs, and prepares to remain in the chamber indefinitely. The hallmark of Jeeva Samadhi is that the saint is believed to remain alive in spirit. Their body may appear inert, yet the consciousness is active, radiating spiritual energy, guidance, and blessing. The sacred presence. This brings us to the concept of the sacred presence. In ordinary burial or cremation, absence dominates. The tomb is a marker of loss, the cremation site a symbol of finality. Jeeva Samadhi, however, reverses this paradigm. The tomb is alive, and the saint is present in ways both subtle and tangible. Characteristics of sacred presence. Ever-present consciousness. Devotees believe that saints in Jeeva Samadhi maintain awareness, able to perceive prayers, intentions, and devotion from those who visit. The saint's energy is said to bless the living, offering guidance and spiritual support. Transformational energy. Pilgrims report experiences of peace, inspiration, and healing when near a Jeeva Samadhi shrine. The site is imbued with the saint's meditation, turning the tomb into a living spiritual center rather than a place of mourning. Continued engagement. Unlike the deceased, who is gone from the world, the saint in Jeeva Samadhi continues to interact in subtle ways. Dreams, visions, or intuitive guidance are often attributed to their presence. A model of mastery. Sacred presence demonstrates that life is not confined to the physical body. By mastering body and mind, the saint exemplifies a state of consciousness that transcends ordinary mortality. The chamber. Symbolism and function. The physical structure of a Jeeva Samadhi shrine is central to its meaning. Unlike ordinary graves, the chambers are often sealed. No air enters or exits. The saint enters voluntarily, and the chamber is closed, sometimes with bricks or stone. Separation from the world. The sealed chamber symbolizes complete withdrawal from worldly attachments. Focus of meditation. The environment facilitates uninterrupted meditation and absorption in the divine. Transformation of space. The chamber itself becomes sacred, radiating the saint's energy and serving as a portal between the spiritual and material worlds. The enclosed nature of the chamber underscores the paradox: a tomb that is alive, a body that is physically still yet spiritually dynamic. Historical examples. Raghavendra Swami, 1595 to 1671. Raghavendra Swami, a saint of Andhra Pradesh, consciously entered Jeeva Samadhi in 1671. Devotees believe that his consciousness remains active in the sealed shrine at Mantralayam. Pilgrims report miraculous healings, spiritual guidance, and profound peace from visiting the site. Sadasiva Brahmendra, 17th century. This silent sage attained Jeeva Samadhi near Karur in Tamil Nadu. Today, devotees continue to meditate and perform rituals at his tomb, which is regarded as a source of ongoing spiritual energy. Tamil Siddhars. The Siddhars, mystical yogis of South India, perfected Jeeva Samadhi as a practice of ultimate mastery over life and body. Shrines of Siddhars across Tamil Nadu remain active centers of devotion, demonstrating the living presence of saints centuries after they entered the tombs. Philosophical distinctions. The sacred presence of Jeeva Samadhi challenges common assumptions about life and death. Life beyond the physical. In burial and cremation, life is equated with the body. Jeeva Samadhi teaches that consciousness transcends physical form. Death as transformation. Ordinary death is final. Jeeva Samadhi reframes death as a conscious transition into a higher state of being. Presence versus absence. While graves mark absence, the tomb of Jeeva Samadhi signifies ongoing presence and engagement with devotees. Time and eternity. Burial and cremation are finite events. Jeeva Samadhi extends the saint's presence indefinitely, creating a space where the temporal and eternal intersect. Devotees' experience of sacred presence. For those who visit a Jeeva Samadhi shrine, the difference is experiential. Atmosphere of peace. Unlike graveyards, which often evoke sorrow, the shrine exudes serenity and spiritual power. Healing and inspiration. Pilgrims report relief from physical and emotional suffering. Spiritual guidance. Dreams and visions are interpreted as the ongoing presence of the saint. The sacred presence thus transforms the tomb into a living temple, offering active engagement rather than passive remembrance. Skepticism and mystical reality. From a scientific standpoint, Jeeva Samadhi defies explanation. How can a human body survive in a sealed chamber for decades, even centuries? Critics suggest that saints in Jeeva Samadhi die naturally, and the stories of ongoing presence are devotional interpretations. Yet, the psychological and spiritual effects of these sites are undeniable. Whether literal or symbolic, sacred presence shapes the faith, behavior, and consciousness of devotees. It demonstrates that human understanding of life and death is incomplete, leaving space for mystery and transcendence. Lessons from the sacred presence. Redefining death. Jeeva Samadhi teaches that death need not be a cessation, but a conscious transition. The sacred presence encourages a re-evaluation of mortality, mastery of body and mind. Saints in Jeeva Samadhi exemplify complete control over physical and mental processes, inspiring humans to recognize their latent potential. Life beyond sight. Presence does not require visibility. The tomb may appear silent, but the saint's energy and consciousness are alive for those who seek connection. Spiritual continuity. Sacred presence underscores continuity between the earthly and the eternal, showing that devotion, guidance, and blessing can transcend physical limitations. The relevance today. In contemporary times, where death is often medicalized and ritualized for efficiency rather than spiritual significance, Jeeva Samadhi offers a counterpoint. It reminds humanity that the human spirit is not bound by the body. Consciousness can extend beyond conventional limits. Spiritual presence can persist even in the absence of physical activity. Even for those who do not follow Siddha traditions, the idea of sacred presence encourages meditation, reflection, and awareness of life beyond material constraints. The paradox of the living tomb. The difference between Jeeva Samadhi and ordinary burial or cremation is profound. In conventional rituals, death is final, memory is honored, and closure is achieved. In Jeeva Samadhi, the tomb paradoxically lives. The body is silent yet charged with spiritual energy, and the saint's consciousness continues to guide, bless, and inspire. The sacred presence of Jeeva Samadhi reshapes our understanding of mortality. It teaches that life is not merely biological, death is not absolute, and the essence of a being can continue to touch the world in subtle, profound ways. This living tomb invites seekers to experience the eternal, to recognize the latent potential within, and to honor the mysteries that lie beyond ordinary perception. Ultimately, The sacred presence is a testament to the boundless nature of consciousness. It is a reminder that life, devotion, and spiritual mastery are never limited to the physical realm. In the silence of the tomb, the saint speaks to the hearts of those who seek, whispering the eternal truth. Presence transcends absence, and the spirit endures beyond the body. Jeeva Samadhi reminds us that not all tombs are places of endings. Unlike ordinary burial or cremation, which marks the departure of life, Jeeva Samadhi is seen as a conscious act where the saint's presence lingers, guiding seekers for generations. It is not death but transformation, not absence but sacred presence. These living tombs continue to inspire faith, healing, and inner peace, showing us that the human spirit is far greater than the body. If this exploration has deepened your understanding, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into the mysteries of life and beyond.